right? I think every time we do an Ariel inspired recipe, I say we're going under the sea, and that's very fitting for this one because the name is Under the Sea Dollar Crackers. And there's the picture of them. So this is a snack in the Disney Princess Cookbook, and they're crackers. I'm kind of excited to taste test these. I don't think I have ever made crackers. Like, I eat them all the time. You know, I love charcuterie and things like that, but I always just buy them. So this will be fun to kind of make them and see how they turn out. So we're starting with flour. Surprise, surprise. Got some seasonings that we're adding here. We've got some salt, a little paprika. Last thing we add is, it says some nicely grated Parmesan cheese, and I just bought some nice Parmesan cheese. I wasn't gonna buy a block and grate it. I got the really nice and thin one. I assume we wanted it more grated down because of it going into a cracker. I'm gonna whisk this all together. So right now I'm adding in some butter pieces, as it says to chop up some butter and add it in. All right, so it says to kind of pinch this together in a bowl until everything's kind of like pea-sized pieces, which I've done this before in similar things. A lot of times making like crumb toppings for pies and stuff, I do a similar method, you know, where you take the butter and you add it in with some flour and other things, and you just kind of pinch it together with your hands. So now I'm adding half and half to this. And it says to just stir it. Let me read this again. Turn until the dough pulls together. I'm gonna put this on I have a floured cookie sheet here. Move some of my utensils out of the way that I'm done with. Move this down here. It says to knead it a few times. So here I'm rolling the dough out with a rolling pin, and then I'm using a round biscuit cutter to cut them in circles when I'm done. And I need to get them very thin. The only problem is now I'm putting all this pressure to kind of get it rolled out thinner, faster. I'm moving my rolling, moving my cutting board all over the place. I got another rolling pin out to try to help get this thin, and I was really struggling, and I didn't spend a lot of time showing you the clips here of trying to get this really thin. Okay, so I've got my crackers here on a plate, and there's enough for definitely another tray's worth, but I figured I'd at least get these in the oven, then I'll work on rolling the rest out. All right, let me make sure these are laying nice and flat. So it says to take a toothpick or a skewer or something and poke a hole in the center and to kind of wiggle it around a little bit so you get a hole. They said this will help keep the crackers flat when it's cooking. It says working one cracker at a time. To use a small pastry brush, put a little bit of water on the top, and then you take some sliced almonds, which I have here, and you make like a starfish shape around them. Trying to find like good almonds that are not broken almond pieces. And I just bought the pre-sliced almonds. Didn't slice any. Has anybody actually ever sliced an almond? Like, how hard that would be. Now it does say if you don't like the almonds, you can just like use this to make like a starfish shape. I'm gonna take a couple and just like maybe poke a few other holes in them. See if I can make the starfish shape. maybe a little too many holes. This doesn't really matter. I'm also doing this because I kind of want to try the crackers without the almonds just to see a taste profile difference. Okay, so these are done ready to go in the oven. They don't take long to cook, and I apologize if some of them look a little sloppy. I honestly just kind of got sick of looking through the sliced almond bag for really good sliced ones to make them look picture perfect like the picture. They're all gonna end up in my belly, so I don't care as much. All right, so here they are out of the oven. I'm gonna let them cool for a few minutes and we'll taste test one. All right, we're gonna try these. Definitely can tell I made them a little too thick because they're not crunchy like a cracker, but maybe that will change because they've only been out of the oven maybe like 10 or 15 minutes, so maybe that will change as they set up. It's got a really nice Parmesan taste to it, which I do appreciate, but I am missing a little bit of the crunch that you get for a cracker. Now that's got the almonds on it, and I actually like the texture of the almonds brought. Let's try it without. They're both not bad. I think I prefer them with the almonds a little bit, maybe only because it adds a little bit of a crunch to it, which I expect from a cracker, but I'm not getting from the other one. But again, that's probably because I made them a little thick, and I actually cooked them for a few minutes longer than it said because they weren't quite light brown on top like it had suggested. But all right, so as always, I'm gonna kind of let these sit, eat them over a couple days or two, and then I'll come back with my review, which you will see next. It's review time, and I thought I would review this while my hair was still kind of wet from my shower in honor of Ariel. But anyway, the crackers were actually really good. They had a really nice Parmesan flavor to them, which I attribute to using, you know, a really nice grated Parmesan cheese. I bought this stuff at the deli that costs a little bit more, but it's grated, it's fresh, and it has really good flavor. They were kind of addictive a little bit because you got them, and I just think ate like 5 or 6 right in a row because after I ate the first couple, I'm like, oh yeah, these really do grow on you. They're really tasty. My husband really liked them and ate quite a bit of them. And honestly, it's a good thing we ate them a lot the first day because these did not hold up, sadly. And I actually don't blame the cookbook. I blame me. You know, I clearly did not get them thin enough. Like, these should be thin, and they were definitely thicker than they should have been. And I didn't bake them long enough, I think, to dry out completely. I did bake them longer. I made sure they were nice and brown, but I think they needed to be baked longer to get more crisp and more moisture out of the dough. Because there was still some because there was still some moisture in that dough, they just didn't hold up. Honestly, we tried to eat one the next day, and it was just like, ugh. They were starting to go stale. They were soft and chewy, and they were losing the flavor. So they just weren't good. So we ended up throwing, sadly, a lot of them out because they just didn't last. And again, I attribute that to me. I've always struggled with things that you have to roll out and get them really super thin to cook. That's always been something I've struggled with. If you're familiar with sand tarts, they're a cookie. You should look into them. But the key to them also is getting them very thin. And I've tried making them, and I just struggle with that. I don't know what it is. I think maybe I get a little impatient. But yeah, so me, thin stuff, not well. But let's get into the rankings and reviews. I'll talk about it a little bit more. The first is the ingredients on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being easy, simple, cheap to find ingredients, and 5 being harder to find or more expensive. And I'm giving this a 3 in the middle, which may seem a little high, but let me explain why. I do think you want to get a good quality Parmesan cheese to use in this that comes in grated, because that flavor is what dominates it and you need it. And then there's the slivered almonds and stuff, and those, you know, only a few bucks. But I sat and I thought about it. I think the cost, if I were just to go out and buy the ingredients for these crackers and nothing else, you're probably got about $15 worth of ingredients in there. And that's for crackers. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you can buy crackers, even some nice artisanal ones, for cheaper than that. So that's why I'm putting it a 3, because it's more about what can I buy already made to making them themselves. Now, I will say this. If you already have the ingredients and you need them for something else, yeah, then maybe the cost wouldn't be such a big deal. I mean, if you're buying the Parmesan cheese for something else, because you don't need a lot. If you're buying the almonds for something else, you know, you've got some half and half, things that you're using for other things, yeah, then that number might be lower. But if you're just going to buy it, just compared to what regular crackers cost, I think it's expensive. Difficulty level on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being easy and 5 being difficult, I'm putting it in the middle to 3 as well. And I think it's just, again, that rolling it out and getting it so thin and making sure that you're baking it properly so that they're crispy. For me, actually, I feel like this is a 4 because I struggle with that. I think for others that are maybe experts, you know, people that bake cookies like that all the time, or people that do pie crust, that are really thin. This could be like a simple like 1 or 2 for you, you know. So that's why I went with a 3. I think that's a good middle ground for most people, because I just, again, getting them thin and making sure they bake so that all that moisture is gone was a challenge for me personally. And then what I make them again on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 never, 5 absolutely. I'm going again neutral 3. 3's across the board on this one. I kind of want to try it again just to see if I can get it right, because I really did like the flavor profiles in that. Again, I think it's going to be something I might do when I've just got stuff laying around to use up and I'm not going to go out of my way to buy these ingredients to do it. But I'm going back to that cost thing. So I think I might try it again someday, not in a hurry, put in a 3, very neutral. But if it fails that time, I'm done. Basically, I'm going to say that. But again, it's going to be something I'm going to have to make sure I'm in the mood that day for it. And I'm going to be patient because, again, and I'm sorry, I repeat myself a lot. When you think about what it costs to just buy crackers to make them, I don't know if the money and the time was worth it, but they were tasty enough that I'm willing to give them at least one more shot.